All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to step into the not-so-distant future. We're looking at an analysis written from the perspective of early 2026 that asks a really fascinating question. What happens when the world's political landscape gets a major shakeup? How do other countries adapt to survive? So this is the big question that the article we're looking at from Dawn really tries to tackle. It paints a picture of a world that's, well, kind of scrambling, a world dealing with a ton of strategic uncertainty, where all the old rules of the game, they don't seem to apply anymore. Let's dive right in. And this quote right here, it just sets the stage perfectly. According to this analysis, just one single year, that's all it took to shake the very foundations of global politics. And it's forcing nations everywhere to completely rethink their strategies, not just for prosperity, but for their very survival. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're talking about a world stage that's become incredibly volatile and unpredictable. And the core problem? You know all those traditional alliances, the commitments that have defined global politics for decades? Suddenly, they're all up in the air. So what actually caused all this chaos? Well, look at this list. We're talking about some huge moves. A new war started in June 2025, pulling out of 66 global organizations, slapping the same harsh tariffs on everyone, friends and foes alike. You can see how that combination would just shred old alliances and sow mistrust all over the globe. So, how are countries reacting to all this? Well, the first big response is a mad dash for collective security. With the old reliable powers now looking kind of unreliable, nations are turning to their neighbors, to anyone they can, really, to build brand new defensive partnerships. And this isn't just a theory. It's happening everywhere. Just look at the new pacts popping up in these really strategic regions. Over in the Mediterranean, you've got Greece, Cyprus, and Israel teaming up. The Gulf states have fired up their own joint defense agreement. And you're seeing new deals between major regional players, like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Every single one of these is a sign that countries are done relying on the traditional superpowers for their security. And you know what? It doesn't stop there. This is a situation that's moving fast. The analysis points out that a bunch of other major defense pacts are already in the works. This is creating this incredibly complex, new web of security ties, and it's literally redrawing the geopolitical map of huge parts of the world. This uncertainty leads right into the second major response. Think about it. If you can't rely on your old allies and your new ones are still being worked out, what do? Well, you beef up your own military. And that's exactly what's happening, kicking off what looks like a new global arms race. Just get a load of that number. 800 billion euros. That's the price tag on the EU's new Readiness 2030 plan to handle its own security. Now, this isn't just a little budget bump. This is a massive strategic shift. It shows you that even huge economic powers feel like they need to seriously militarize. And this isn't just a game for the superpowers. The analysis highlights that something like 15 middle-power countries have jacked up their defense spending by over 10%. We're talking about places like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan, and India, all pouring money into their militaries to make sure they can stand on their own 2 feet. And this chart, wow, it gives you a perfect snapshot of the arms race in action. The global demand for advanced fighter jets from China, France, the US, it has shot up by over 73% in just 1 year. Countries are literally in a rush to buy up advanced weapons. And that, of course, is just making already tense regions even more on edge. But hey, survival isn't just about having the biggest army. It's also about the economy, right? So nations are having to tear up their old economic playbooks, and that's leading to 2 huge shifts. 1, they're diversifying their partnerships, and 2, they're turning towards China. This breaks it down so well. On one side, you have the US using things like sanctions and tariffs as a weapon, and on the other side, you see the global reaction. Countries are scrambling to find more reliable partners, to find new markets, and that has led directly to these huge new free trade deals, like the ones India just signed with the EU and with Britain. And this hunt for new economic friends has led to a really big geopolitical shift, this idea of a rapprochement with China. It's basically a fancy word for getting back on friendly terms. The logic is pretty simple. As the US gets more and more unpredictable, even its oldest allies are starting to build stronger ties with Beijing because, well, they look a lot more stable right now. And listen, this isn't just talk. The flight paths to Beijing have been packed. According to this 2026 analysis, leaders from France, the UK, Canada, and even the King of Spain have all made high-profile visits. These trips are sending a loud and clear signal to Washington. In a world full of surprises, predictability is worth its weight in gold. So to see how all these big global trends actually play out on the ground, the analysis zooms in on one country, Pakistan. Let's take a look at how they've tried to navigate this new world order, and maybe where they're hitting a wall. So, Pakistan has clearly been paying attention because they followed the global playbook almost perfectly. Number 1, new alliances? Check. They signed a big defense agreement with Saudi Arabia. Number 2, militarization? Check. They boosted their defense budget. And number 3, stronger ties with China? Double check. They launched a whole new phase of that massive China-Pakistan economic corridor project. So on the surface, it looks like they've adapted pretty well, right? But the analysis points to a huge vulnerability. There's a critical piece of the puzzle that's just missing. And there it is. For all of its smart moves on security and its close partnership with China, Pakistan has completely failed to diversify its economy. It is still incredibly dependent on the American market for its exports. And that leaves it exposed to the exact kind of unpredictability it's been trying so hard to protect itself from. This quote from the author really just nails the danger here. I mean, you can't pay for a bigger and bigger military if your main customer is totally volatile and you have no other new business lined up. The author is basically warning that security ties are great, but they are no substitute for real economic strength and diverse investments. Which leaves all of us with this final, really powerful question. As the old world order breaks apart and a new one struggles to take shape, the real challenge for every single country is figuring out that balancing act between security and economic stability. In a world defined by uncertainty, maybe the only thing you can truly rely on is yourself.